I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Who'd be interested in this technology?
Cheap, abundant energy? Who wouldn't?
Until someone terminated the project. Now, the only survivors...
Someone's setting us up.
...have become the only suspects.
So we can't trust anyone.
From the director of The Fugitive...
The best I can!
Keanu Reeves, Morgan Freeman. Chain Reaction, rated PG-13.
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is another request, this time from Albin. Actually, it's one of 4 requests from Albin, so thank you so much for that. I'll try to get to them as soon as I can. And if anyone wants to request any other type of reviews, re-reviews, topics, reactions, what have you, you just send the request either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both links are down below in the info box. And if my voice sounds a bit weird, it's because I do have a cough drop. So I apologize in advance. But one of the films he wanted me to review was Chain Reaction. Now, Chain Reaction is a film from 1996, and it stars Keanu Reeves, Rachel Weisz, Morgan Freeman, Fred Ward, Brian Cox. It is a pretty good cast. I mean, of course, Keanu Reeves from Speed and John Wick films, Matrix films, Morgan Freeman, Shawshank Redemption, Kiss the Girls. Rachel Weisz would actually work with Keanu again in Constantine. So that was pretty cool. Brian Cox, he was the original Hannibal Lecter in Manhunter. He was Colonel Stryker in X-Men 2. You also have an appearance by Joanna Cassidy, who I remember as Dolores from Who Framed Roger Rabbit. And it's directed by Andrew Davis, who's a very talented director. I mean, this guy did Code of Silence with Chuck Norris, Above the Law and Under Siege with Steven Seagal. He would later do Collateral Damage with Arnold Schwarzenegger. All films I enjoy. And of course, before this, he did The Fugitive. And that's kind of where I like this film. You know, as a time waster, I think it's a decent film. But I never loved it. I mean, I would put above Speed 2, Cruise Control, which Keanu did not do. Although that came out in 97, this was 96. Although technically the action sequences themselves are better in Speed 2, because that's one thing Speed 2 does have going for it. It does have really good action set pieces. It's just everything else. The story, the over-the-top silly as fuck villain. I'm sorry, I like Willem Dafoe, but he was silly as fuck in that movie. Jason Patric, which he worked in Lost Boys, but he was boring. He's a plank of fucking wood in Speed 2. He did not work in that action, presence, feel to it. But Keanu Reeves was a much better fit. Part of me wonders if you took Speed 2, if Keanu Reeves was the star, I sometimes wonder if I would like the film more. Because I can't get behind, if I can't get behind the main star of an action film, that's really a big bother for me. And be like, okay, it's a very flawed film, it's a very stupid film, but maybe it's a dumb, fun movie. But Anyway, I'm not talking about Speed 2, but I'm brought that up because it's Keanu Reeves. But it is one of those things I do wonder sometimes. If Keanu Reeves, the same film, but it was Keanu Reeves instead of Jason Patrick, I do sometimes wonder if I would like the film more. Maybe, I don't know. But into this, one of the issues I have with the film, it just comes off as a lesser version of The Fugitive. Like, if you call this The Fugitive Part 2, it wouldn't be that outside of the box. Which, funny enough, there was a sequel to The Fugitive. It was called U.S. Marshals with Tommy Lee Jones and Wesley Snipes. I'd probably even put that above this. Because that one I thought the story was a little bit more interesting. Because I don't mind the premise of this. Keanu Reeves is a technician. He's with this team to discover this alternative, low-cost, pollution-free fuel source. They succeed. One day he comes to the lab, finds his friend dead. The machine is going haywire. Obviously there's been some sabotage and murder involved. He gets out of there, and this huge explosion fucks miles and miles up. Now, when you look at today's standards, the effects are not that good. It's really bad green screen, especially when he's on the motorcycle and you see the blast coming for him. And then especially the aftermath when he walks and he sees all the destruction and chaos. It looks really fucking bad. I mean, and the thing with 96, like, I'm the guy, I still love Twister. I just still enjoy the effects in Twister. I love Independence Day. Now, a lot of that was done practically, which helps in maintaining the tolerability of those effects in today's standards. But here, I mean, that's the big scene, one of the big scenes in the movie. Just does not hold up. I don't know if it held up back then, but it definitely doesn't hold up now. It looks really bad. The few bits that worked is like the initial explosions of some buildings with like some model work, and then when Keanu Reeves slides his motorcycle into this ditch, because that was done practically for real. That's the stuff that holds up. But the other, like, CGI, I'm guessing CGI, that, again, when he looks at this destruction, it's a really bad green screen. I'm like, is he watching this on a TV? The foreground, background are not at all blending in. And then after it, it's a movie that I can enjoy and tolerate because I like the cast, and it's really one of those films that you're just waiting for the next chase sequence. And the chase sequences are fine, and Andrew Davis has had experience with that. So you're waiting for the chase sequences where Keanu Reeves is being chased on a bridge, and the bridge is going up, and he almost slides off it, he gets under it, and then slides under the bridge. Or the scene where him and Rachel Weisz are on a frozen lake, frozen water. They're in an airboat and they're sliding around. They're trying to get away from the cops. Or they're at a museum and Keanu Reeves is running on tops of pieces of architecture in the museum, including an airplane. Or the finale when he's got to use his smarts to escape this underground facility before it blows up with him and Rachel Weisz in it. The set pieces are fine. Keanu Reeves, I think he had been injured before, so that's why he was a little bit puffier compared to Speed and others. But I like Keanu Reeves. He does fine in the lead role. I had no issues with him. Rachel Weisz, again, she did fine for what she had to do. This is before she would be in The Mummy and others. Morgan Freeman, he's a guy who's like, is he a bad guy? Is he not a bad guy? For what I understand the original source material, he was much more of a definitive villain. But this seems to happen a lot with Morgan Freeman, where he doesn't want to play a straight-out villain. Because a similar thing was with Hard Rain, which I also enjoy. And I would probably put that above this, Hard Rain. Because Hard Rain, I think, is rather underrated. Hard Rain has some really good set pieces. And how they made the entire town look unflooded, I give a lot of credit to. I really like Hard Rain. It should have just been called The Flood. I know it's a simpler title, but it's like, well, Hard Rain, what the fuck is Hard Rain? Is there a prequel called Soft Rain? And is there a threequel called Chocolate Rain? But yeah, again, I really do enjoy that film. But that was another film with Morgan Freeman. He's a bad guy, but he's not really that bad of a guy. And it's like, okay. But Morgan Freeman does a good job. Brian Cox, he's more of the definitive villain. Fred Ward, I like Fred Ward, but he was wasted in this movie. Because he's playing a lot less interesting version of Tom Lee Jones. Sam Gerard. Because Fred Ward pretty much wanders around asking questions. Then out of the blue he goes, you know what, $100. I don't think the kid did it. And then he arrived. I mean, when you see a film like this, it makes you know more of why The Fugitive worked. And this, while I do enjoy it for what it is, it's more of like, it's a time waster. I didn't enjoy it and not get mad at it. Because of the cast, because of the set pieces. But The Fugitive had a much stronger story as a chase movie, with the personal connection of Harrison Ford, his wife being murdered, and he was there, and he fought the one-armed man, and he got knocked out. And so, because of this big personal dramatic connection, that made the action scenes even more of him trying to escape and his innocence. And then with Sam Gerard, a much more interesting character, where Tommy Lee Jones was able to play and be energetic. This guy took a Peter Pan off this rock. What? Yeah. Holy shit. He did Peter Pan on this. And there was actual connection between him and Harrison Ford. Granted, few and far in between, but I didn't kill my wife. I don't care. Which elevates the character of Sam Gerard. I think that's actually the role that Tommy Lee Jones won an Oscar for. Definitely not, you want to have Fred Ward doing that for this, because he was really given not much of anything. It's just, just a lot less interesting version of Sam Gerard. And they're both films about a person who is framed for a crime they did not commit, including murder, and they're being chased throughout the country while they're trying to find the truth of what's going on. Meanwhile, you have an agent, Tommy Lee Jones right here, Fred Ward, chasing after them. But the reason Fred Ward's not given much to do is because they're giving the running time to Morgan Freeman or some of these other people. Like Joanna Cassidy, she's someone that Keanu Reeves, Rachel Weisz meet, and she's a friend, and she helps him out a little bit. And really, that's when the movie doesn't have a chase scene happening, kind of in deadlock. It's kind of stalling, and you just exposition of what's going on, where this low-cost, pollution-free fuel source, people want it. There's this other group making it, and they want it for their own purposes. And Morgan Freeman is being asked questions by Fred Ward or Keanu Reeves, and them are looking into this, how they're being framed. They following us, they trust Morgan Freeman, and they realize he's not all up, he's not 100% on their side. So in between the chase sequences, it's just not that driven of a plot compared to The Fugitive. Like The Fugitive, even when a set piece is not happening, the mystery is more interesting of who is the one-armed man and who killed the wife and who's involved with this. And I think you're more invested in the lead character because of this harsh murder of his wife, and then actually being in prison, having to escape this crazy like prison bus almost hit by a train, and this crazy escape scene. So you feel more, what's the word I'm looking for? You feel more concern, and you feel more, there's another word I'm looking for, it's on the tip of my tongue. You feel more sorry for the lead character. You feel more compassion for the lead character. Not that you don't, I mean, But there's a lot more done with the characters in The Fugitive compared to this. And my guess, this is just my guess, between these two films, just The Fugitive was 93, this is 1996. I think what happened was, after The Fugitive, he did this smaller film called Steal Big, Steal Little that did nothing. Was a box office bomb. Maybe it was a passion project for him. Maybe it was a film that, hey, want to do something different. It did nothing. So I went, oh shit, this town only cares about the last film that was a hit. Normally. Unless you're fucking Ridley Scott, where he made 2 new shitty alien films, so let's give him another chance to make another shitty alien film. But normally, if your last film bombed, they're less interested in you. So maybe Andrew Davis thought, well, fuck. The last big hit I did was The Fugitive. Let me find a story that's kind of like The Fugitive, so maybe I can get another hit on my shelf, and then continue. And that wasn't the film didn't really do much. It was a box office disappointment, and didn't do a lot to further Keanu Reeves or Andrew Davis's career. Now, Andrew Davis, like I said, after this, he would do films like Collateral Damage, which I enjoy. Even Holes, which I reviewed, that was a pretty decent film. That's more of a kids film. Like, I reviewed Holes. It's not that bad of a flick. The last film Andrew Davis did was The Guardian, the Coast Guard film with Ashton Kutcher and Kevin Costner. That one I wasn't really big on. I mean, it's not the worst thing ever, but it's like, I've seen this film many times before. I mean, in a weird way, it remind me of times of Backdraft. I don't know why. I know it's stupid, but maybe it's the ending. Remind me a little bit of Backdraft. You go, we go. I was ready for that line to be said. But getting back to this, as a time waster, it works. Like I said, I like the cast. The chase sequences are fine. They're nothing remarkable, but they're fine. The finale I thought was fun. Using the smarts, like he gets this tank and he hits it to move this heavy block out of the way so that it can escape. Or this pulley system he makes to stop these bad guys. But like I said, in between the set pieces, you don't really have that interesting of a movie. You don't really have that much of a personal drive of the main characters. At least as much as The Fugitive. I keep comparing The Fugitive because it's the same director, it's almost the same skeleton. Might not have the same skin or blood or tendons, but it's the same skeleton of The Fugitive. In fact, some people would say it's more of a sequel to The Fugitive than U.S. Marshals. But again, I would put U.S. Marshals above it, because U.S. Marshals, like I said, that was a little bit more interesting story-wise compared to this. But, and that one I was a bit more interested in the story with Robert Downey Jr. tears getting involved and stuff, and anyway, let's not review U.S. Marshals. But yeah, this movie, again, I've always thought it was just an okay time waster. Not great. Better than some of the shit Keanu Reeves does nowadays, like Knock Knock, and what the fuck was the other movie? Replicas. Like, this is way better than those. You know, you pop this on, you enjoy it for what it is, and not get too mad, but it's not that remarkable either. It's fine. It's fine, but flawed. Now, whether that be the script issue, or maybe the idea of this pollution-free fuel source, not a bad idea, but that's mainly just the MacGuffin to have this chase. Maybe like if you made Fred Ward's character a bit more interesting. But of course, maybe they thought that'd be even too much of a ripoff of The Fugitive if they did that. Maybe with Morgan Freeman, if he picked a side. Is he a villain? Is he not a villain? Maybe that could have made that character a bit more intriguing. I just they thought it was more intriguing because you don't know if he is or isn't a villain. But for me, it did the opposite. It was what it was. It's not that bad of a film. It's just not that memorable either. But like I said, so thanks for watching. We will see you guys later. Bye bye.